Someplace Blood? How you doing? You're resting up, or I need to rest up? I mean, technically, I could use it, but yes. Were you not feeling good or something? Feeling good? Just said that because you took a load off the bench. Load off the bench? Wow. I'm almost done with Dead Island 2. I just have the solo stuff left to do. I took out the Hoss. The Hoss was, once I got back with all those weapons, it was done. There's no chance. I almost have Pikmin 3 done. I just have 6 more side missions, and then that one's done. I can get back to Mario and Luigi Brothership. Don't know what I'm gonna play on Monday though. After I got to beat the solo thing. I don't know how long that's gonna take, but I got a few things. Of course, you know, there's the whole Switch 2 thing. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. I'm hearing conflicting reports on certain items. As much as people complain about the Switch 2 price, is my understanding with a 10% tariff that technically Nintendo will be losing money and they'll accept that. All right. Here, hold on. I guess we'll do it now. I've been putting it off, but let's do it. So Switch 2. I'm concerned because they're really, really pushing customers. People out there are hurting. Yes, inflation is somewhat down, but not completely. And there's a lot of people that are really strapped. And having a $300 system never ever go down in price. Having all the Switch games for $60 never ever go down in price is a bit of an issue. I don't like it. Now, mind you, it's their right to do that, but I still think that they really should, because I saw the price for $350 with the OLED, and I got that. But the thing is, they've been producing that system for nearly 8 years. I'm sorry. They must have been making mad profit on that, because they took an off-the-shelf thing, and honestly, they could have easily, if you sell it for $300, making probably $200 on that, if not more at this point. And the OLED screen, okay, let's say it's $50 more, right? Versus the original Switch. I have a hard time believing that $450, even with the price increases and inflation, is really a thing, and it really should have been $400. And I think $450 is a bridge too far, because it's way too close to the price of the PlayStation 5. I think it's $50 more than the PlayStation 5 digital. Like, why would you, if you're comparing the two and you're like, I want the new Switch because I can play this third-party games, why would I spend $50 more to get a Switch? Yeah, it's portable, but still, right? So I don't know. And the bigger concern is just the fact is, you know, if you got a kid, $300 price point, it's easy enough for people to do for Christmas and birthdays and things like that. $450 though, you're really pushing your luck. I think a lot of these businesses, they're going to find out they're not going to get the sales that they want. They're just not. It's not going to sell as well as what it would have had they sold it cheaper. And my concern is they're never going to lower the price. So it's not like, oh, hey, it's a couple years down the line, let's lower the price and make it more available to everyone, right? They never, ever discounted this Switch. Ever. About the only thing they ever did was the Switch, what was that called? The Slim or whatever, the one where it wasn't disconnected, it was just portable. So realistically, I mean, it's not a problem per se for me, but I am not most people. And for kids and stuff, that's going to be a problem. The secondary thing that I think is kind of egregious is the price of the games. $70, I'm okay with, because I equated it to that's what the price was for a PlayStation 5 or Xbox game. And that's because they're doing the higher resolution, they're doing the higher textures, they're doing the light ray tracing, multiple performance modes. Peace. $70 I think is fair, right? I do not think $80 is fair at all. Period. And the fact that they're selling Breath of the Wild for $70 with the Switch edition, and you're only getting a graphical update when other games are getting it for free. And I really don't even know if they're updating the actual textures to really make it worthwhile. That game shouldn't even be $60 to begin with. So realistically, that should be a $70 game. Okay, fine, if you upgrade the textures and really make it look better. But if you don't, I'm sorry, you shouldn't charge for that. That should be a free update. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, again, same thing. Should be the same thing with graphics and everything else like that. You added extra content? Okay, fine. Make that extra content $10, not the graphical updates. Unless you really, really, really had to put in a whole lot of textures and it's a lot of work, maybe. But the game's been out for a while and it should be discounted, especially Breath of the Wild. That's been out for 8 years and you didn't ever discount that game, which is a bunch of BS. I'm sorry, Nintendo, you're greedy. You're straight up greedy. I'm sorry, you just are. The cartridges don't cost as much to produce anymore. The game has been paid for 8 years ago, and you've never discounted. You didn't come out with a, hey, we sold so many, we're going to discount to, let's say, $30 or $20. They don't do that anymore. And I think that's a bunch of BS. And on top of the fact that when it comes to the Switch 2 version of the new Pokemon game, I'm sorry, that game looks like junk. And it really needs to don't release it. Send them back and give them someone to help them because those textures look like junk in that game. I'm sorry, they really do. Like, I don't think I see a problem in the idea, the concept, the world, and the buildings that they have, but they look so plain, it's ridiculous. And the fact they're constraining it to one area, I think they realized, oh crap, we can't do this open world thing like we did the last game because it was dog. It was horrible. Well, here's the thing. If there is unless you're me, and I'm going to stream stuff, I am going to be getting it to help clarify some things. Some of the things that I'm unclear about that I don't particularly like is, okay, these Switch 2 editions, we have conflicting reports. We have from a UK tech support saying there's a Switch 1 game in there with a code. There is, in the code, it downloads you the extra stuff. Then it's like, what's the point? I want it on the cartridge, or why am I buying it? And why are you wasting plastic? But then the Nintendo store says, no, it's on the cartridge. How do we know? Why did you even bother putting any type of stuff in the bottom? If it is a Switch 2 game and it's on there, great. But you also didn't add any extra content. Like, Kirby, I'm going to give a little bit of a pass. I don't think it should be $80. I think it should be $70. The reason why I think that is okay is they added additional content to the game. Real content, story content, extra lighting and stuff that they couldn't have done on Switch 1. Peace. That would be reasonable, but I don't think it's $80. Donkey Kong, as good as it looks, as expansive as it is, destructible everything, that's $70. Why is everything else higher than $70? Makes no sense whatsoever. I hope everyone and their sister doesn't buy Street Fighter 6. If you notice on Target, if you go look at the different websites, Target has a game key card, meaning we're too dang cheap to put the whole game on the cartridge, and we're going to buy a cheap chunk cartridge and make you download the entirety of the game. Thus, what's the point? You might as well buy digital for the actual game. And yes, they reduced the price on that one. That one, I believe, is only $60, but I still think it's crap because guess what CD Projekt Red's doing? Cyberpunk, the entire game is going to be on the cartridge, a 64 gig cartridge. If they can do that, everyone else is lazy. I'm sorry, no excuse. Straight up lazy. Especially if you're Capcom. If you're a little indie developer and, okay, fine, cool. But realistically, if you got a small game like that anyway, I think it's a push to even have you make a physical cartridge to begin with. And when it does happen, it's because you sold so much and you think you can afford to do it. Like, I think they're putting Silksong on a cartridge, which I wouldn't expect, but that's kind of cool for collectors. Yes, they are. I personally thought they had a bunch of crap when they came out, that they sold a bunch of lies and everything else like that. But I really think the game was forced to come out sooner than they wanted to release it, like Blizzard would, of the old would have. But publishers, and they burnt so much money for so long, they had to have a return on investment. And then with the whole COVID thing, I think that just added on to it. They fixed the game. They made the game better. The game looks better than Starfield, has better development and kind of cool things in it. Honestly, yes. I am very interested to see where the new Witcher game goes, right? Hopefully it's okay. We'll see. But as far as, you know, the other games, I don't know. There's even, I can't remember, there's this other game. I don't have it on me, but, you know, maybe I'll put it here. They have that on the Switch. There's no reason why that should be on a game key card. Like, it's lame. And I don't get that. The new Daemon Machina game is fully going to be on a cartridge for Switch 2. It is only $70. It looks impressive. Like, why? I think there's a lot of bad stuff, and I think it's going to sour people from Nintendo in the game industry, and it's not going to be great. The only positive I have is there's a clear delineation that's very obvious for consumers that these developers are lazy AF, and they aren't worthy of you buying their game. And I hope people don't buy the game key cards, and really, really sends a message to publishers that you just wasted your money. And then I hope everyone buys a whole bunch of the physical games to show them, if you do it right, we'll reward you. Because that's just a bunch of malarkey. We'll see how Square goes with the whole remake. It's too soon to know what that's going to look like on a cartridge from Square. Well, I mean, let's be real. I mean, the whole reason why you buy a Switch and you buy a physical cartridge is to have the whole thing on the game. There's no excuse. I'm sorry. Either you produce a cartridge or you don't. And if you're a Call of Duty, right, and you really can't get it down below 100 gigabytes, I will give you a pass. Why? Because I don't even think they offer a cartridge large enough to potentially put the game on. I think 64 gigs is the largest one. And I think a lot of the times the reason why the textures are so large is because they don't have a good way of actually fixing textures, so they have a lot of duplicates, unfortunately, for different areas. And so that's what eats up all the space. Don't want to say you're turning on Nintendo, but I respect the honesty. Dude, okay, first of all, I'm not turning on Nintendo. I've been a Nintendo fan since I was 9. And I have the original NES, Super Nintendo, N64, GameCube, Wii U. I have a Wii U, all right? Now, I didn't buy a Virtual Boy, but I think my opinion on this rates a little bit. And Nintendo's been a value brand. And if Nintendo's not the value brand, who do actual parents turn to? And I don't think you understand how angry Doug Bowser has upset me with his comment. He pulled an Xbox comment. I forget what his name was, Dan something or other, of, oh, well, if you can't afford the new Xbox, or online, buy the old Xbox 360. Nonsense. That whole thing with him saying, if you can't afford the new Switch, buy the Switch One, upsets me. Because they've never lowered the price of the Switch One. They've never lowered the price of the actual Switch games. And most people have had that system for 8 years. And you're not going to be releasing the new content on the Switch One. You're not getting the new Donkey Kong on Switch One. You're not getting the new version of, let's say, yeah, you're getting Metroid Prime, but that's one of the least ones. And it upsets me because that's going to really piss people off from Nintendo, and might even turn them off in general. If they're not careful, they're going to shove people into Steam, Because you buy a Steam Deck for about the same price and I can buy cheaper games. Parents are going to look at that and go, that's really expensive for games. They're going to hear about the Steam Deck and they're going to buy that for kids. And they're going to be buying cheap games off of Steam. And Nintendo's going to lose revenue straight up. And this whole $10 for the tour game that's an instruction manual, that's a crocky you-know-what. But they also lost Reggie. The only reason why they had Wii Sports and the Wii U pack-in is because of Reggie. Nintendo didn't want to do it. Because they have a mindset that if I did something, I want to get paid for it, which is fine. But from a marketing standpoint, if you're trying to market your system, you need to do something. Do I feel the Switch 2 needs that? No. But you're just going to waste your time, money, and effort. Very few, if anyone's going to buy that stupid $10 game. I'm sorry. They're just not. I know I'm not. That's a waste of time and plastic. You're wasting people's time. And they're going to make a whole bunch and they're going to lose money on it. And it's just, it's unfortunate. As far as the other stuff, I understand it's a little more expensive for the Pro Controller and the Joy-Cons. But realistically, I think for the optical sensor on there alone, let alone some of the improvements on other things, it's easily worth probably like $5. I'm sorry. And you're buying two of those, so like $10. Reasonable, right? It's expensive, but it's reasonable. And how often are you buying controllers? Hardly ever. And you're getting two packed in, so you're fine. Well, two games I would be looking at would be Daemon Machia and probably the Donkey Kong game. One, because they're both $70. Hey, I'm going to support good practices. And all the game is on the cartridge. Am I buying Street Fighter 6? Nope. Am I going to be buying their Nintendo $10 game? Nope. Am I going to be buying Mario Kart? That's an if. Now, here's my feeling on Mario Kart. Mario Kart may or may not be a purchase. Let me explain. They've tried to say, there's a lot of content to justify the $80. And I say, really? You haven't released a Mario Kart game since the Wii frickin' U. You never, you released a bunch of tracks, right? Okay. And then you released a bunch more for an additional content, right? What's so special about this one? Because I don't see anything that justifies $80. The thing that would allow me to justify $80 if they go, hey, we see you. Instead of charging you additional DLC. Nope. Nix that open world concept. They did that with Breath of the Wild. I'm sorry. No. And to be honest with you, most of it's probably going to be just junk anyway. If you played Breath of the Wild, some of these other games, trust me, it'll be open world, but there won't be much in there for you to see, to be honest. My thought is, hey, you buy this game, we're going to support it and release content for like, let's say a couple of years, like 2-3 years, right? You're basically getting a pack in there, right? So they're constantly going to have people playing it and bring things back. And if that's their new business model, and that's how they're going to do, let's say, Mario Kart, and that's how they're going to do Animal Crossing, and let's say that's how they're going to do Smash, right, when they finally do that, that I can get behind, because then I would understand, because then at that point, they're pre-funding or preloading that this is something that it's a platform game that's going to, like, run the length of the actual system, and it's not going to be dead after a year or two on the system, and if the system's out for 8 years, you got nothing. That I could get behind and would support and be like, okay, fine. I see what you're doing there for 10 extra bucks. Sure. I'll support that, right? Yeah, you're kind of forcing people to spend a little bit more in the beginning, but I think a lot of Animal Crossing people would be very happy about that, because I think a lot of people were upset that they bought the pack, they released some stuff, and then the support just fell off, right? So I think if they say that, okay. If they don't, and I don't see anything more they could show me that would justify an additional $10. I just don't. I really don't. I'm sorry. If I want open world, I'll play Breath of the Wild for less money or whatever. Or I'll get Grand Theft Auto. I mean, honestly, it's a cart game. Yeah, you can take pictures, but what else can you do? You can't climb. You can't fly, realistically. It's not like a plane thing where you can, like, go multiple vertical levels and stuff like that. I think it's actually more limited than you probably think it really is, and it's all going to be very, very flat. I think it'll be a fun community game that people can enjoy beyond just racing and really broaden the horizon of who will enjoy Mario Kart. And I think that's really cool. It'll also be good for people to like, hey, we're going to stream, we're going to go do things. And so you're going to get a lot of visibility from streamers and things like that, which is kind of cool, especially with the camera and stuff. But Nintendo, you got a hard sell. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not the only one that feels this way about the price, because every Nintendo Direct that they had, people were putting in the chat, drop the price, drop the price, drop the price, drop the price. Because, yeah, it's overpriced. And I'm sorry, you don't get to skip from $60 to $80 for a game. You just don't. And the dangerous precedent it sets for, like, other games from, let's say, Sony or Xbox for their next generation system, they'll just set it for $80 because they think they can get away with it. And then that's going to make games even more unaffordable. And what's going to happen is it's going to cause a video game crash. Because it's not a need, and if people cut back on price, what's going to end up happening is studios are going to close, and then you're just not going to have what you're going to want to have with this, which is a problem. But one of the things I want to buy, and I'm thinking about it, is I want to buy, and I'm going to have to buy, I'll wait until maybe Metroid. I'm concerned about the Switch 2 editions because there's actually like conflicting things, and it's not 100% clear as to what the truth is. I want to get one of those games so I can really hit home. Okay, this is what you're getting when you want to buy one of those. But I have a hard time, the ones that are out there for that. I don't know if I want to spend the money on it because I already own the games on Switch. So why would I buy it again? Metroid Prime is the only one, but I don't know exactly when that's coming out. If that's a launch title, we're good, but I thought I saw that was coming out, correct me if I'm wrong, I think in July. But Nintendo needs to be careful that they don't shoot themselves in the foot, is really what it comes down to. You're off to a good start. You have a lot of goodwill. You have games people want to play, but don't get too big for your britches. And, you know, they were smart to not announce the price in the release trailer, and they should have been smart about it and not releasing the prices right away. They should have waited. But people make mistakes. Whether Nintendo wants to send me one, we'll go. I will point out about pre-orders for the United States. They are doing a sale through Nintendo's My Nintendo Store website. The comeback scalpers, and they're requiring you to have a Nintendo Switch Online account, and you've had to have it for 12 months, which if you've been playing the Switch, you would probably maybe potentially have that, and you need to have at least played 50 hours on your system. If you do that, you can sign up and get an invitation, and you'll have 3 days once you get an email invite that you can calmly go on there, purchase all the accessory games and system that you want, and they'll end up shipping it to your house for free. And it'll be standard pricing. You won't have to worry about, oh my God, the bots are going to get it, trying to spam button things, which I think is great and smart. I wish Sony and some of the other ones, Sony, I think, did that a little bit. That's how I got my PlayStation 5. But the concern I have that I didn't like is my son would like to get one, and they limit it to, they only let a person who has the Nintendo Switch account, even if it's a family plan, only the person who's paying for it is allowed to actually buy a system. So my son is like out in the cold. So if he wants one, well, you got to try to pre-order with Best Buy or Target or somebody, which will be fun and interesting. But it is what it is. I'll have what I need for reviews and stuff, but he'll just have to deal, unfortunately. Then again, I don't too feel bad because he hadn't played Switch in a while. He's been mainly doing Roblox. Yeah. Well, here's what I can tell you. From what we can tell, if what we see is correct, they in January shipped 323,000 systems, and then they shipped 900 and was it 900? No, 723 systems in February already. So they're already shipped out to other countries. I can't say that's for worldwide or if that's just for the United States. I'm not sure. And if that steadily increases in a 12-month period, maybe they'll have 3.2 million ready, but we'll see. Maybe. The other thing that potentially can help a little bit is if the tariffs, if they come down further, that might actually help a little bit. I'm not entirely sure. What I'd really like to see if they really work something out and the tariffs kind of disappear completely, because there was I believe some form of something going on. If Nintendo would drop the system by $50, then I think that would show some goodwill. If the Mario Kart has additional content and they keep that at 80 and make sure to say, hey, look, our games are at $70, right? Okay, fine. But they need to really be really sparing with that $80 price point. It's a bit much. I'm also concerned, the Joy-Cons, they did not confirm that they're using Halo Effect sticks. They supposedly said they improved them, but did they change them completely and they're not that stupid stuff that wears out? I have no idea. And to be honest with you, from what I saw on the Pro Controller when I've seen people play, those joysticks are really weird the way they do things. So who knows what the Pro Controllers have in general. I mean, that's generally, what I end up rocking is the Pro Controller, right? So, I've never had any problem with drift with those. Biggest issue I've had with PlayStation controller. Now I have to ask you. You see, with the PlayStation 5 controller, right? I haven't had any problems. It's worked fine for me. The only problem I've had is when I was playing Stellar Blade and I'd hit the button. If you didn't hit it directly on and just like came at it at an angle, it wouldn't register the button fully. And that's about the biggest issue I've had with the controller. And so far that I've seen. Everything else has worked fine. I haven't had too much issues with it. And I have 2 of them. So, but no, with Nintendo, that's the other thing is, what are the controllers going to be like? Are they going to be halfway decent? I think the mouse controls, from what I can see with Metroid, they're pretty smooth. You can go from mousing and then quickly pick it up and it just transitions like nothing. So I think Metroid is going to be a big win. And the cool thing about it, if they release it soon enough, it may set a standard where a lot of the shooter games might go, whoa, 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 whoa. I want to implement that. That's a cool thing. Sort of like what they did with Splatoon with the gyroscopic aiming and stuff. Hopefully Cyberpunk takes advantage of some of that, because that'd really make that game pretty cool in that regard. Because aiming with the joystick, it was painful in Stellar Blade, let me tell you. But yeah, and the other thing is the Pro Controller's got 2 extra programmable buttons on the back. I have no idea what that's about, so we'll see. I did hear also, be mindful, the Piranha Plant Hari camera is way lower resolution than what Nintendo's offering for their actual thing. Is that a Game Boy Advance behind you? Yes. So this is the OG. And then my favorite, the SP. Funny thing is, this Walmart sticker, this is what I used and played when I waited overnight to get my Nintendo Wii. That's why it has the sticker, and I just never removed it. Great systems. Great systems. My other systems, of course. I think I've showed you this before. GameCube with the Game Boy Advance player on it, in that regard. So, no, I have all my systems. I didn't ever sell any of my systems, and they all function. The only one that doesn't function is my Genesis, weirdly enough. And mainly, I don't know what the problem is with that one. They just don't work, and it's not just mine. The other one I have also doesn't work, so they need to be fixed. Yep. They are. They are. And if I have to ever play anything retro, I do have a retro Tink to be able to convert those systems to be able to work on a HDMI out for capture for gameplay, which is cool. Which, do I have that here? Well, I don't have it on me right this second. I'd have to dig for it. But so yeah, in closing, when it comes to the Nintendo, $450 is somewhat fair. But $400 would be better. I think $80 for a game is too much, unless it's getting free content down the line, where it's going to be a life game for Mario Kart, Animal Crossing, Smash, things like that. I think game key cards are junk. I think either you do or you don't. You know, Switch One game. Ooh. Favorite Switch One game. Wow. You know, that's a hard one. I'm going to reserve my judgment on that because there's a bunch of Switch One games I haven't fully played yet. But if I'm going to be honest, probably Fire Emblem Three Houses. And I think the reason why I like that one is I like strategy games. I like the characterizations you had. I like the fact you could build a relationship with the characters. It had sort of like a Harry Potter feel to it with the three houses and whatnot and some of the story. But I also like the fact that, like, you could actually, like, marry one of the actual, like, characters. And then, like, it strengthens your relationship. You could do... It was kind of crazy and different. I've never really seen that in a game. Yes, I know they've done it in lesser games and maybe some of the farming games and things like that. But it was still pretty cool. And I thought it was really awesome. I haven't played the Engaged. I have Engaged. That's the game that came afterwards, but I need to do that. Yeah. I kind of liked Breath of the Wild because of the fact that you could go anywhere and climb any and things like that. And I like that you could build stuff in Tears of the Kingdom. But they both had faults where I didn't go, that was an awesome game. And part of it was Breath of the Wild was some performance issues and lack of actual story or really good dungeons or bosses. Tears of the Kingdom fixed some of the dungeons and better bosses, but in a little bit better story. But there were several parts of it that I thought were very, like, I had to look things up to figure out how to do things, and they weren't as straightforward as they were on Breath of the Wild, and so it could easily be a problem. Have I played Hogwarts Legacy? No, but it is coming out for the Switch 2. So with the wand controls and the mouse stuff, I don't know how that's going to play. I would imagine it would play pretty good probably for the flying and some of the wand stuff. I figured Switch 2 version is going to be probably the best version. And it's probably going to have all the content in it as well. So there's that. As far as my biggest thing that I'm concerned about right now is what are we going to get software lineup, right? I'm kind of spoiled a little bit when it comes to Switch 1. That Nintendo themselves had a strong cadence of actual software titles for the Switch. And they have a few titles, but they don't have a lot. And I have a feeling they may be leaning a little bit on the third-party stuff, which is great and all, but like, you know, what are we going to do? And then the whole Dustbloods thing, I don't know if you caught that, but that's going to be PvPvE. So it's like, you're going to have to fight 9 other people in the environment. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to play that. I want a single-player game, right? What's that about? So I don't know how that's going to go in that regard. I imagine Rebirth is eventually going to end up on the Switch 2. I imagine the third game is going to end up in the Switch 2. Square will make it a point that it will run on Switch 2 because they want to make their money back. Because they clearly can't sell on the PlayStation 5 and make their money back. And I wouldn't be surprised, given the time frame of PlayStation 6, that it ends up coming out on PlayStation 6 as well. As far as anything else, it's really going to depend. I don't think we're going to get a Mario game for a while because I think the people that are making Mario are making the Donkey Kong game. You're getting a Metroid game. Cool. You're not going to get a Zelda game for a while. Makes sense. You just got Tears of the Kingdom, and to hold you over, you're going to have Wind Waker, and you're going to have the Warriors game, which will be kind of cool to do. But I don't know. Other than Donkey Kong and maybe potentially Mario Kart, are there any other games that are strong? I need to buy the system for this. Dustplug would have maybe been that for some people, but I don't know if that's still going to be the case now they've told us what it is. We'll see. I'm just not sure. But on that note, I will try to do reviews and give some advice as to buying and what they should get. In regards to the original Switch, I did one way back as the accessories and things that would be good and what makes sense. I will pretty much guarantee you we're going to want to get a glass screen for your Switch 2. That has saved multitude of screens when it's come to my son, so I would highly recommend that. No questions asked. Past that, case, memory card, maybe. It really depends. If it's just cartridges, I've never had a need to use a memory card. That's more for if you want to download digital games. But big question is, do you buy Mario Kart digitally for $50 more? That's the real kicker, because it's tied to your system then, and you can't sell it or get rid of it. But are you really going to sell and get rid of Mario Kart? And is Mario Kart then worth it for $50? That's the question, right? And why is Mario Kart there's such a price difference of $30? Does the cartridge cost that much that they need to spend $30? What's that about, right? I personally think it's an upscale tactic. I think they purposely are going to try to justify it for $80, and they really want to save the system for $500. But what's the best way to do it, right? The best way to do it is try to pack a game in, but not like a pack in where it's free. Give that value proposition. AMD does this nonsense all the time with their graphics card. A good example of that is the 9070 and the 9070 XT. Yeah, you can buy the 9070 for $400 or $550, but for $600, you get a card that's going to have more performance, like way more performance, for only $50 more. You really want the XT, right? When they really should price it a lot more separate apart, at least $100. They do this nonsense all the time, but their reasoning for it's a little bit different because they're using the same chip, and maybe the yields are so good that they're actually breaking good ones to make the actual 9070s. It's not as bad as what it used to be. So we'll see. But I don't know. It's a Nintendo's ball court on what they can do here. I think it's the right play that they're releasing it when they're releasing it, because they're going to get a jump to the PlayStation 6. I don't think the PlayStation 6 is honestly going to push graphics that much better. I think what it's going to do is it's going to be able to hit frame rates and do certain things a little bit easier, but you're not going to see a drastic change in graphics from 5 to 6 realistically, especially from Pro. The most you're going to see is maybe just a little bit more performance. But then again, they're going to be able to scale that. Like, the difference between that and Switch 2 is not going to be super huge, right? Unless they up the RAM. If they up the RAM content, then the Switch 2 is going to hold everyone back with its 12 gigs of RAM. But listen, at least it's got 12 gigs of RAM. It's got more RAM than the Xbox Series S, which is hilarious. But we'll see how that goes. So, on that note, I need to get back into my game and do what I need to do, because I've been on my soapbox a little bit too long. Oh, snap. I've been meaning to do a video on this. I just haven't had the time, and I just couldn't get myself to do it. So I appreciate you coming in and asking about this, because you know, one, it's good to have the back and forth, but always, you know, I want to get that content out there. But be mindful. Go on the Nintendo, if you want to pre-order one, go to their website and you know, put your stuff in. I think it's going to be around the early May that they're going to send invites around May 9th or so. So if you liked my commentary, share, let people know. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday at twitch.tv/gamewithmagus. I also stream on YouTube, Rumble, and Kick. And of course, you should follow me on social media. It's Facebook, Instagram, or X. That way, when my schedule changes, because I play games or other things, you know what's going on, but also allows you to reach out, make suggestions on games, or just say, hey, whatever you want. Until next time, stay adventurous.